Well, welcome to our session all about respiratory care. We are so excited to have an incredible speaker who I have known my whole life that I remember. We have Joni Goldwasser. She is an incredible nurse. I'm actually going to let my mom introduce her because I don't even know all of her qualifications and what they mean. And then we will get started. So, Mom, if you want to take over.
Okay. And just as Jamie was saying, we have known Joni and her family for decades, and Joni's been such a great influence in our lives and such an incredible nurse. And actually, Jamie says she doesn't understand all the qualifications either, but I know that Joni is a registered nurse. She's a nurse practitioner. She's a doctor of nursing, and she has done so many wonderful things with her career and just helped, numerous people that we know just in the neighborhood, kids with broken arms and stitches and everything. And Jodi's just been a wealth of information and just love and encouragement throughout our lifetime. So I'm going to let Joni actually explain to you how qualified and wonderful she is, because she's going to give us a little introduction herself. So Joni, go ahead and just give us a little introduction to what we're going to be talking about today.
Well, thank you, Jamie and Cindy, for that introduction. And really, I like Jamie and Cindy. I love what I do, and I've been very blessed in my life. Nursing was a good calling for me. I started out in the emergency department with my work and have worked in burns and trauma, emergency medicine, primary care, and most recently occupational health. So I've had a good career, and I always say that my patients definitely give more to me than I give to them. And I'm really happy to be talking about the respiratory system. It's really near and dear to my heart, and the relationships that has with the immune system. And our lifestyle really affects our immune system. How we sleep, what we eat, our diet, our exercise, all of those wonderful things you've been hearing about in these talks over the last few days. And with our immune system and our lifestyle, we can boost our immune system. We can, by the choices we make and what we commit to, not being perfect every day, but we have opportunities to boost our immune system and live healthier lives. So all our body organs, not only the respiratory system, but all our body organs support our immune system. But there is a main connection with the respiratory system and the lungs. And remember, the respiratory system is your nose, your mouth, your whole oral cavity, as well as your lungs. When we get an infection or exposed to something like an allergy or an irritant, our body wants to fight that infection with our lymph nodes. And so our lymph nodes get activated. So any foreign particle, say it's respiratory droplets that you inhale, or you touch your face with your hands, any of those things, our body's going to start releasing lymphocytes or white blood cells, to try to combat that infection. I read a research statistic that said that as many as 70% of the population has pneumonia-causing bacteria in their mouth at one time, but it's our healthy immune system that fights that off before it reaches our lungs. And that was a pretty startling statistic, that I came across. Also, remember, our cells don't like toxic inhalants. They don't like the allergies, and they don't like these infections. So the response is one of making antibodies. We, get exposed to something, and our body's going to make these defense mechanisms come up. It could be such things as the common cold. It could be even issues like cancer or heart problems. Remember, the immune system is tied into our inflammatory response. I mean, even in today's local newspaper, there was an article about a physician in Richmond, Virginia, who was given vitamin C and medication to strengthen his immune response to fight off the recent health problems we're all hearing about. So there's lots of issues that go on with how our bodies individually, each one of us individually, fight off inflammation and infections. So our body does a good job. It makes antibodies. It has cell-mediated responses for our immune system that are backup systems. So they're all really different connected systems. Another good thing our immune system does through our lymph nodes is create fluid balance in the lungs. So when our lungs get overwhelmed with fluid for whatever reason, the lymph system tries to balance that fluid. Our lungs also work with our kidneys to make sure that we have sufficient oxygen levels in our bloodstream at the cellular level. So our body does a good job of boosting the immune system, and a lot of it has to do with our lifestyle, thinking positively, making good choices. There's a whole lot of research behind just how positive thinking can make you healthier. So if we listen to our body, a lot of people use fitness trackers. Some people do breath work. It's all worth a fortune. I really want to spend a few minutes before getting to some questions, just talking about how breathing itself affects our immune system. There's so much research written about controlled breathing and the positive effects it has on decreasing our physical and mental stress. Controlled breathing can lower your blood pressure. It improves arterial blood flow. Again, we're only as good as we are at the cellular level. For example, I bet you some of you, like me going into this talk today, got anxious before starting. And sometimes we go into a meeting or an evaluation and we have that anxiety. Well, if we just stop and take 3 big, deep breaths, sometimes that's all it takes to decrease that stress. And those are very effective things. It's funny how your body can just respond so dynamically like that. We have everything we already need. We just need to activate and strengthen those defenses and protect our immune system. So there are multiple resources on breath work from John Kabat-Zinn, Andrew Weil. There's just many, many types of evidence-based research supporting rhythmic breathing. But remember, also keeping stress under control is another important thing for long-term breathing. When we're stressed, we trigger our immune system. We trigger autoimmune defenses. And it's just not mental stress, it's physical stress. People will say that they have gotten, I have a good friend in New York who's a type 1 diabetic, and she relates a stressor in her life to that. So many people relate different, maybe malignancies or heart disease to that inflammatory response. And I just think it's important that if we keep mental as well as physical stress under control, by having those good lifestyle choices of sleep, as Cindy mentioned on our first talk, diet and our gut response, and exercise, those things are going to strengthen our immune response. And when we have physical and mental stressors, they activate what's known as the sympathetic nervous system, the flight or fight, like if you get scared or the dog barks and you jump. And those kinds of things cause us to breathe faster, probably like I'm doing now, and be more stressed. But if we just activate our parasympathetic system or our relaxation system, that affects our cells in a positive way. We can breathe slower, more relaxed, and our body is happier and getting our immune system stronger. The final thing I want to say about some research I was reading is that all the issues of anger, anxiety, chronic pain, depression, emotional effects of illness, grief, and PTSD can be improved with breath work. It's like the domino effect. Breath work improves our stress response, which builds our immunity. So a good recommendation is to take about 5 to 10 even 15 minutes a day if you can, to do some daily breath work to boost our immunity. Slow diaphragmatic breathing, deep breathing, pursed-lip breathing. Some people use the 4-7-8 method, which is when we can all do this together.
Okay.
You can inhale for a count of 4, hold your breath for a count of 7, and exhale for a count of 8. And that type of exercise, just even doing it 1 or 2 times, is going to really improve our immunity just by having good, effective respirations. So let's all try to work on our breath work and deep breathing, more diaphragmatic breathing than chest breathing. Try to get those big, hold your hands on your stomach and take a big deep breath. And try to get those good cells activated. One other recommendation I want to talk about is there's so much, as you know, in the news about COVID-19. And the CDC, the Center for Disease Control recommendation is, to decrease our fear and anxiety, do things like avoid a lot of negative news programs or positive news programs, just news in general, social media, so don't do too much of what we're doing. Take breaks by doing other things like walking or exercise. And also, this was a written recommendation from the CDC, was take care of yourself. Use deep breathing, stretching, meditating, eat healthy meals, exercise regularly, and get plenty of sleep. All of those things which we've been discussing over the past few days with these wonderful programs. So that's just a little bit of my information about why breathing is so important. It's a free gift that we have, and it's so valuable, and we just need to remember that and try to do it as best as we can. I believe Cindy's going to ask me some questions, and then if you all have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
That was so incredible, Joni. I love the way that you phrased that our breath is our free gift. We all have the capacity to control our breathing, and that is one thing that we can tap into as long as our brain is ready to recognize our need and remind ourselves to do deep breathing. And I love the way that you explained how beneficial that is to us and how much our bodies can improve just by practicing that one simple step throughout the day.
Well, we come into just by existing, going to the store, living with other people, we encounter so many things that could affect our immune system. Mm-hmm. Being happy, washing our hands, all the things we know that our parents told us, but it's important that when we breathe in those respiratory droplets and air, to acknowledge that they have an effect on us.
Yeah, it's incredible. So a few questions that we thought would be helpful for this talk is, what are some good ways that we can prepare our bodies to avoid respiratory illness?
Well, certainly supporting your strong immune system, and we can do that in a number of ways. Try to avoid as many airborne inhalants as we can. Certainly not smoking, avoiding secondhand smoke, different things like just keeping your nose clean for what that matters. Just blowing your nose, not too hard, but doing our best, good oral health. Those kinds of things will help avoid respiratory illness. Staying healthy.
Awesome. And I do know that as far as some things that we can do, some products that we can use to support our immune system. Young Living offers some capsules called Inner Defense, and they're filled with essential oils that are beneficial for immune support. We also have Super C vitamins that come in chewables. I love the chewable version. We have the Thieves essential oil, and we'll actually kind of get into that a little bit more later. But a lot of things that we can do to help our bodies prepare and, be ready protect
The
ourselves.
super C is very important. The
Mm-hmm.
inner defense, lavender adds some benefits also.
Yeah. So, and then if we were to think we might be getting a respiratory illness, what are some signs that we might be looking for that would indicate that we could be getting a respiratory illness?
Well, the typical signs are things, they certainly vary for everybody, but it can be a sore throat. It could be sinus congestion. Some people just get fatigued. You could have a cough, a mild fever. You really want to worry about high-risk populations, people under the age of 2, children, and also, I saw one in the picture, by the way, and also people over 65. And, if you have chills or you get short of breath, you raise your level of concern as those symptoms either multiply or congregate. Remember that viruses cause 90% of bronchitis infections, and the common cold is caused by hundreds of different viruses. So there's that little play on, there's viruses that we come encounter with, and that's why we want to keep our body healthy.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Very good. So what are some ways that we can stop or slow down a respiratory illness from getting worse or progressing? Can we actually cause it to slow down?
Well, yes, certainly being healthy to begin with makes a big difference. Adequate rest. And if we sometimes increase our fluids or make sure we get adequate fluids on a daily basis. People can use steamy showers, a hot bath, certainly taking the big inhale that I was talking about. I know I keep a diffuser in my bathroom. So when I get out of the shower and just all day long, that really has so much positive effects on me mentally as well as with my breathing. People do use different products to ingest or topical application of essential oils, which I want to mention in a minute. Inhalation affects our emotional brain, the limbic system as well, and smells can be very potent. So even the oils that we diffuse, they can reduce swelling in our respiratory tract. They can help sputum excretion. They can improve our breathing. And there's plenty of research. This isn't just advertising for products. There's really good, solid, evidence-based research to back up these products. I know I recently bought as a gift, and also for myself, the Easy Breeze steamers. And I thought that those were a wonderful product to have in the shower. Because they have eucalyptus, peppermint, they don't have parabens or chemicals or synthetic fragrances. And they really, made me focus more on my breathing, which I know to do, but just somehow having that beautiful smell, and then I felt better. So I know lemon certainly helps congestion and coughs. We know that peppermint has a lot to do with being an antispasmodic and helping nausea as well as fatigue. Many people like to use tea tree because it's antiviral, antimicrobial, and antiseptic. My favorite, is always eucalyptus. I come back to that over and over again. But clove, Raven, and RC are 2 Young Living products that really support lung function. And the Breathe Again Roll-On is a new product along with Stress Away that are good products to help decrease stress, open up our lung passages. I don't know if you want to add anything, Cindy, about those, but they help, if you're getting sick and you want to help it keep from progressing, get that vitamin C in.
Those are incredible tips. I love all the oils that help support your breathing, the eucalyptus and Raven. and things that we can do to diffuse them. And even if you don't have like the shower steamers that you could purchase, you can actually do a little DIY in your shower. One of the things that I've done in the past, if I start to feel a little congested in my throat, is I just take the washcloth and put some eucalyptus or raven on the washcloth, and then lay the washcloth on the bottom of the shower, and then as the water hits it, it kind of acts as its own little diffuser in the shower too. So there's
that's a great idea.
easy ways to get that oil steaming into your shower if you need it. So that's so incredible. What great tips and ideas. And yes, we definitely love our Young Living oils. And one of the things that I discovered that I hadn't been using prior to this enhanced moment of kind of wanting to protect ourselves intensely, I really started understanding more about tea tree and using the tea tree daily. And so that's been one that I've added to my regimen during this season.
It's good for anti-inflammatory effects.
Yeah. So wonderful. So thank you for all those wonderful tips. Now, if we were going to talk about exercise and potentially, getting an illness, should we continue to exercise even if we're sick? What would that look like?
There's good evidence to support continuing to exercise when you're sick, especially for symptoms that are above the neck. If it's sinus or cold, you can continue to exercise, and you should. Now, you may want to take it down a notch, the intensity a little bit. Some people may choose to walk instead of run, or use a recumbent bike. Water aerobics are certainly fine. I think, as we all say, it's important to listen to our bodies, but there is really good evidence that exercise will help us fight fatigue, help our mood, which will improve the healing that we need with exercise. And those are all good, good things to do when we're feeling sick. We just need to make sure we're not overdoing it.
Yeah, good advice. Thank you. How about sleeping? Do we need more sleep when we're sick, or how should we alter our sleeping habits?
Well, certainly sleep is very beneficial. The first part of our sleep cycle, as you mentioned, our body is just kind of digesting the day and working on memories and things like that. So if we could manage an extra hour of sleep, if you sleep 7 hours and can do 8, or whatever you can do, that will really help your body heal when you're sick. It helps that inflammatory response. Your body will take the lead. So if you're tired and your body says you're tired, then get that sleep. Now, it's all easy to say, when people have work schedules and lives and kids out there. So some days it works and some days it doesn't. And that's why we use the backup, taking our vitamin C and taking a walk late in the day. It's a combination. It's never one thing that goes together to make us healthy.
That's awesome. Good. Okay, so what are some things that we should do differently if we do get sick? What are some changes we should make?
Well, you're hearing a lot about those in the news now. Avoiding touching our face is really important. Don't blow our nose too hard. Always cough and sneeze away into your shoulder or your arm. Don't use your hand. Avoid being too close to people, keeping good distance. Even things like avoiding too much sugar and caffeine, because those things will actually increase your dehydration.
Okay. Wow. Good. Very good. So are there ways that we can also protect other people around us?
I would say we need to have awareness of those who are most vulnerable. So if you know people around you, or you're in the grocery store and you see somebody elderly or a mom with kids, try to keep your distance, and whether it's in these times or in future times, and if you're sick, consider staying home if that's a possibility. certainly the foundation is staying healthy. Do those things before we get sick so we don't get as bad of an illness or a respiratory problem. So keeping our distance, using the appropriate supplements, oils, washing our hands is fundamental. All of those things will help protect people around me. You know, I'm responsible for me, but I want to make sure that I'm being healthy for other people too.
That's good. Yeah, that's one of the things that we've heard over and over. You know, if you're healthy, that's good, but you also want to protect your neighbors and those that are more vulnerable. So I think we're becoming much more aware of how to protect everybody else too. And so are there ways for us to determine the differences between what is a cold and what's an allergy and what could be this new COVID virus that's going around now?
Well, there are lots of good scientific charts available from multiple universities.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Johns Hopkins puts out daily information. There are charts from the University of Alabama is one chart, you know, that does a great diagram that shows it. And the biggest difference on all the charts really is a lot of the symptoms are the same. Like, do you have a fever would be one good question. If the answer is no, then do you have things like itchy eyes or sneezing or a runny nose? And that makes sense that that might be more allergy driven, especially with the springtime pollen. And if you have symptoms like maybe sinus congestion, chest discomfort, and itchy eyes, that might be more of a cold, especially with the cough. But if you have a fever and then you have shortness of breath, well, then you want to determine, is that the flu or is that possibly COVID-19? So you really want to go down the symptoms of cough, fatigue, weakness, and exhaustion. And shortness of breath and exhaustion keep coming back and back into play for cardinal signs and symptoms associated with COVID-19 on all the scientific charts available. Where you might have some weakness and fatigue with the flu, and you could have a fever also, you don't necessarily have the shortness of breath.
Okay. Wow. So many amazing pieces of information, Joni. I just feel like this was a gold mine. Like this talk today was just so valuable and so pertinent to what we're dealing with right now. And I hope other people find that value in this talk as well. So I'm just so appreciative of everything that you've shared. Jamie, I'm going to turn it over to you because I know sometimes people will pop in and ask questions too. So.
Yes, absolutely. I didn't get any questions texted to me during the session, but does anybody here live have any questions? Feel free to unmute yourself or also use the chat.
Oops.
Oh, go ahead, Joni.
I just want to say, remember too, that there are a lot of natural remedies. You know, I made a list of them for myself. We talked about the hot shower, the detox bath. I think, Cindy, you're a firm believer in the Epsom salts and then adding oils like Thieves and eucalyptus. I mentioned lemon and raven. The Ninja Red, sorry, I don't pronounce it well. I do that every day. It's called High Vitality drink, thanks to my friend Caroline who named it that. And believe me, it has really kept me healthy, and I strongly believe that. And we mentioned the inner defense supplements and Super C and Thieves. People also use frankincense and Exodus 2. I have not used that last one, but there are lots of products that offer natural remedies. You know, at this time, I would say the zinc and vitamin C and elderberry or like the wolfberry are really being proven in helping our bodies not get as sick. Sorry for taking too much time.
No, it's all. Thank you Yes, that's definitely the gold mine. That's all things that we've been using and boosting up on and trying to protect ourselves with. So yeah, part of my daily routine for sure. So
Yes.
yeah.
And I think we did have someone unmute themselves as well. I didn't catch who it was. Did someone live have a question?
I just unmuted to say that I thought this was such a good talk. I don't have any questions, but I feel like this really covered a lot of bases. And yeah, I thought it was very informative. That's all I wanted to say.
Oh,
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you, Caroline.
No problem.
Does anyone else have any questions? If not, I just want to thank you, Joni. This has been so valuable. I know for me, I've always admired you and really enjoyed hearing you speak and just hanging out with you growing up. And this wealth of knowledge that you've shared with us has just really expanded our minds on what we can do during this hectic time when we feel so scared and so unsure of what's going on. So I'm very, very thankful for your time and that you were willing to talk to us today. So thank you so
I
much.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
And let's all try to do some deep breathing, right? And relax
Yeah.
Yes.
and live healthy.
Absolutely. That is perfect. And we can all go forward throughout the day, try to do some deep breathing exercises right after this session and really enjoy the rest of today.
I see that, Bonnie. Thank you all very much. I appreciate this opportunity, and I look forward to continuing to see everybody staying healthy.
Yes.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And our next session will be tonight at 8 o'clock or 8:30, sorry, 8:30 Eastern, which is 5:30 Pacific. So if you guys want to join the same exact Zoom link, we will be here again.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jamie.